Hello, everybody. Randy Smith, along with Lucine Dadrian, who is our Operations Support Chief here at the South Florida Water Management District. As you know, Irma has come and gone for us here in the South Florida Water Management District. Leading up to this, we had crews in the field here in the Emergency Operations Center 24 hours a day preparing for Irma, then riding out the onslaught. Now, probably the biggest job that faces the Water Management District is the reconnaissance and recovery. Lucina, you oversee this. Big 16 county area and most all of it impacted. Tell me what is happening out on the ground and in the air today.
So currently, we had our 7 a.m. briefing, and we've spoken to all the field stations, and we know what areas we need to go assess. And we will have flights going out to the Big Cypress Basin area as well as the lower East Coast to assess via helicopter aerial reconnaissance to determine where we need to go and what we need to do. We have rapid impact assessment teams from the field stations that go out and determine what structures are down and what structures need, and pump stations and canals and levees need to be brought up online so that we can continue our flood control mission.
And when you start talking about the mechanical part of the Water Management District, we're talking 70 very large pump stations, 2,000 miles of canals, hundreds of water control structures that keeps our folks really 24/7 trying to figure out what exactly is happening out there. And so that means that the pump stations have to be manned.
Definitely.
24 hours a day. So what does the operating system look like out there now? What would we see if we were out and looking out there?
So currently, we've made contact with all of our pump stations, and the pump stations are manned, like Randy said, around the clock. And we're looking to relieve staff that have been out there since the lockdown of the storm, and continue our pumping operations as we've had record rainfalls with this storm. We need to continue providing fuel to the sites, making sure that any sensors or any generators that go down or any microwave towers that go down, we need to make sure everything's online so we continue to move water through the system.
And I think the the areas that we're looking at closely are Big Cypress Basin, Miami-Dade area, and Clewiston south of Lake Okeechobee. How do you do an assessment? I mean, these are broad geographic areas. We do use our aircraft for this too, right?
Yes, we use our aircraft to determine, it's the quickest way, especially with flooding, to determine what's down and what we can actually get to before we actually send staff out to assess the damage. So the field station does the first assessment. We also have the aerial assessment, and from there we determine if field station staff can do the work, or if we need to send out engineers and project managers to do damage assessment and and repairs, emergency response repairs, or if it's something that can be a long-term repair.
You brought up a really good point there, and this is something that the public needs to know, is that it takes a lot to provide flood protection, and with 8.1 million people, that is a very vast system. But the South Florida Water Management District has staff that are versed and equipped in all sorts of specialties. So the production arm that we have out for the public is very strong. I'm sure we have all sorts of skilled labor, engineering. Tell me about the makeup of our field stations and support staff in the field.
Well, our support staff in the field in regards to our field stations include technicians related to electrical, mechanical, structural. We have every facet of the expertise within the field stations, as well as in our engineering and construction response teams. So under ops support, we have damage assessment teams that include a variety of skills, engineering skills and construction skills. And then we also have a debris removal team, and that's more related to tree removals along canals that block our flood control in our canals. And then we also have SCADA and stream gauging, as well as emergency response teams for engineering support.
So we have you covered at the
Yes.
Water Management District with very highly professional, skilled folks that are out there. Speaking of debris removal, and when I was coming in, there are trees out in the roads, in parking lots, in yards, and along the canal banks, and not just the Water Management District canals, but all canals. The bad part is when those trees actually fall into the canals, and you can start to impede the flow of water. So I'm sure that that's a big part of the assessment and will be a big job for contractors to try to remove things. One of the things that this Water Management District does year-round is go around and try to keep the canal banks clear so you can get your equipment in there. It at times can be an unpopular move with some folks because they are used to having the aesthetic of the trees and stuff. But as we're seeing in this situation, those trees do fall in the canals and create problems. That's why we stay on top of this year-round.
Definitely. When we look at risk to the system, we look at making sure that our pump stations are operational and that our structures are operational with being able to move gates up and down. And we've also looked at our canals and levees as also being a very high risk to the system. If we have trees along the canals and they fall in, you now have impeded flow, and you will overtop the banks and you will flood areas of concern surrounding those canals. So for us, being able to move water is important. Once a tree falls into a canal, you've now increased that operation ×4. So if it cost, a certain amount to remove it off the bank in the dry, once it falls into the water, you require barges and cranes, and the operation to remove that debris is very taxing, and it's a big operation. So it's very important to the district to slowly get our entire inventory of canals free of trees, as well as being able to have that canal bank to work within the canals and to do emergency operations.
So when you see the Water Management District out there clearing the canals, it's for the public safety. And it's part of the operations mission that we have here and will continue. Just want to let everyone know that Lucinea and her team are going to be working as long as it takes to provide full recovery from the impacts of Hurricane Irma. And here at the South Florida Water Management District, we won't close our doors either until the job is done.